Okay. First of all, can everybody hear me? Just, kind of nod and smile if you can. Good. That was good. That was a good smile, Jessica. Uh, Kenneth, can you hear me? Okay. We we're down to 4 people tonight, which is fine. Some others may come and join us. What I want to do this evening is kind of start to put things together a little bit and maybe fill in any holes that we may have in our understanding of what EdTPA is and what you're going to be doing in your student teaching courses. Just to let you know, I also have sent you an email with 3 Zoom meetings in them, and those are specifically going over the special education handbook and the 3 tasks. And those are Zoom meetings from previous years that we did on the specific special education handbook. So you'll be able to take a look at those. I know when you have like 3 hours of free time, that will be, no, I know you're not going to have a lot of free time in student teaching. But anyway, it is there for you. And uh, we should be all set. Okay. So tonight, what I'd like to do is let's start putting some things together, go through a few things, and then I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have. We will be having a final meeting tomorrow evening, and at that time we'll go over the checklist, make sure that you have everything you need, and we'll talk about what exactly is going to happen in your student teaching course if you are not already there. Or even if you are, some questions about the way that you're going to integrate EdTPA into your student teaching course. So we'll be doing that tomorrow evening. Okay, some reminders to go over. EdTPA is a student-centered, multiple measure assessment of teaching. It is not a test. It is a portfolio assessment that has 3, or if you're in elementary, 4 specific tasks that need to be accomplished. Through completion of EdTPA, teacher candidates will demonstrate knowledge of pedagogy with video and written reflections to provide evidence for student learning. Important again, this is all about the student. It's all about whether the student has learned. So they're not going to be interested in things like, oh, wasn't that a marvelous classroom management technique that teacher just used? They're not interested in that. What they are interested in is how your student has learned. Teacher candidates must complete EdTPA while in their student teaching placement. Teacher candidates will use the national standards and they will be scored through a national website. Okay. So, what is EdTPA? We know that. Who completes EdTPA? Candidates applying for initial certification in Georgia, New York, and Wisconsin. Why do I complete EdTPA? It is a state requirement for certification when, during your student teaching placement, and how you will use national standards, and they will be scored through a national website. Okay. Can everyone see the screen? I just want to make sure that that's sharing properly. Okay. Online course. In lieu of the step, our teacher candidates will complete modified submissions for the required EdTPA performance-based assessments. For each standard of the step, teacher candidates will instead submit an EdTPA piece of evidence. So you will be submitting assignments instead of the step assignments. Points will be awarded based on the teacher candidate's submission of the work. There will be no evaluation of the work, but feedback can be given in a very specified manner. Teacher candidates will follow the class schedule for completing the portfolio, assignments, discussion questions, and participation. Now, when we talk about the portfolio, I do not just mean the EdTPA portfolio, but rather your student teaching portfolio, which every student teacher candidate needs to do, no matter whether they are EdTPA or not. And I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes.
Oh, I have a question. This is Fabria.
Yes.
Okay, so so my question is, how many portfolios are we going to have? Because I was just looking at some of that today, and I'm so confused on it. So I guess I'm just going to wait until you go over some of this stuff with us, because I'm just confused with this digital portfolio, because I do know that this week I'm supposed to do a shell part of a portfolio in which I am confused in it. So I guess I'll just wait and just listen to everything that you're saying before I go any further.
Okay. The EdTPA is called the EdTPA portfolio. And so it is easy to be confused between that and the regular student teaching portfolio. The regular student teaching portfolio is not going to have any pieces of EdTPA in it at all.
Oh.
What it is going to have is it will have your resume, your classroom management discussion, your evaluations, your 4 evaluations. So it will have those things in it. And really the purpose of that portfolio is something that you can show to prospective employers. And so those are the kinds of things you're going to have in it. You're going to have a welcome video, you're going to have a statement of teaching, you're going to have things like that in that other portfolio.
Okay.
So it's going to be completely different from EdTPA.
I'm sure, because I had to ignore it last night, my school teacher friend.
Okay.
Okay.
Go tell her ass off.
shit, it's after 6, man.
Okay.
Like 2 days ago. Man, look. It's not that I get to talk to you anyway. You know?
All right. I'm muting people if I hear them because it will affect the quality of the video that we're doing.
Literally.
So, Kenneth, I can sort of see you on video, yes. All right. So you'll see in the PLN that there is in the general information for EdTPA, you'll see where there's a list of the modified submissions. There are actually a couple of lists. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. You will get these when you start your student teaching course. You should get these from your instructor. Okay. Now, for those of you that are in the 15-week course, this is the visual modified step submission. And you're going to see that there are here 2 different kinds of submissions. One is the EdTPA modified assignments. So that would be covered, anything with a red dot is an EdTPA assignment that you would do instead of a step assignment. Here, a purple square is part of your professional portfolio that I just mentioned before. Items that you would use that might go into a portfolio for an interview for jobs and things like that. And if you look down here at week 1, you will see that there's no step assignment in week 1, but there are 2 portfolio assignments. The PLN scavenger hunt, which is just a way for people who are not familiar with the PLN to begin to work with it, and the interview of a cooperating teacher or your cooperating mentor. That is an item that may or may not end up being in your portfolio, but it is not part of EdTPA. However, you still have to do it. Okay, so we have the same thing here with week 2. And as I said, you don't have to worry about this. You will get a copy of this, either this version, the 15-week version, or an 8-week version in your student teaching courses. So here we have the same thing. We have, you're going to submit the context for learning template. Now remember, somebody asked me about this today. When you do your commentaries for EdTPA, you don't just sit down and write them like you're writing a paper or a report. You will have templates, and on the templates will be questions. You are to answer those questions. They call them prompts. So you are to answer those prompts on the template. So you don't need to figure out how to start. It doesn't have to be one single document. We follow the template. So in week 2, the first template that you would have is the context for learning, which is basically demographic information about your placement and about your students. Week 3, you would submit a lesson plan. You would also submit your professional dispositions assessment and a reflection, and that would be for your student teaching portfolio, not for EdTPA.
I have a question about the week two. Was it week two? I don't know. The week 2 assignments for the documentation of us taking this course. I've gone ahead and done all those, but in the prompts, the questions I've answered, and I can't get the text any smaller because some of it is a little longer than what the space there that is. Is there any way to change that?
You don't really need to worry about that too much.
Okay.
Which part of you, tell me again what you've done, the past certification?
Yeah, well, because on each one it says, you can complete when you've done week 1 or the number 1, number 2, number 3. As I've been doing it as we've been going through this.
Okay. The only reason that you're going to send that in is just to let your teacher know that you went through PAS.
Okay. All right. So I have them up till week 3. That's all, or number 3.
That's not going to be used for anything. There are no grades associated with it or anything like that.
Okay.
So, so don't worry about it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So week 4 is an evaluation week, so you don't have any modified step assignment. That's a week where you're going to find your student teaching evaluator, your faculty supervisor is going to come in and watch you teach. By the way, you may not, I will say this again, you may not use the same lesson plan for EdTPA that you are using for your evaluations. They must all be different. Okay? Because EdTPA does not allow us to evaluate you. A student teaching evaluation is exactly that. It's an evaluation. And so you cannot use EdTPA materials for that day. So 4 times during your student teaching, your supervisor is going to come in, somebody representing GCU. They are going to watch you teach, and then they will evaluate you. And that is a requirement for all of the student teaching candidates at GCU, whether that you are EdTPA or not.
Now I have a question that you might have to answer. I just got in contact with the my supervisor for GCU, and they aren't able to come out to the school, so I have to do it a different way. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yes.
Okay.
I've done some of that myself.
Okay.
What usually will happen is that you'll do a videotape, and you will send the videotape to the evaluator.
Yeah, she said she wanted to use FaceTime, so she was live.
All right, FaceTime, or like we're doing with Zoom, whatever she wants to do. But yes, some of us have been trained in how to do that.
Okay.
But again, you cannot use any EdTPA materials.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have, here are the various weeks. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see that really you're going to be working on several different tracks in your student teaching class. Notice, yes.
Mine's broken up. The first 8 weeks was regular ed. The second 8 weeks is sped. I've already done the first 8 weeks. So would I just pick up with week 9?
No, you'll start again at week 1.
Okay.
There's 8 week for the first session, and then there's 8 week for the second session.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so your rules are just a little, it's going to be just a little bit different, but the general idea is the same. You're going to do the step assignments, and you're going to do the portfolio assignments.
Okay.
And you'll see how it's divided It will be divided so that you're not doing the same portfolio assignments again and again. I don't usually teach the 8-week course, so I'm not as certain about how they did it, but I know that there's a visual like this for the 8-week course also. But yes, it will be similar.
Can you explain the grading again? Like when we have to submit the EdTPA stuff instead of the STEP stuff?
Okay.
So you said they can't obviously grade it because it's EdTPA. So how will they give us a grade?
Okay. If you turn it in on time, okay, because instructors can still take away points if you're submitting late work, okay, then you will get full credit for that assignment.
Okay, and they can get back comments if needed.
Even if it's perfect, even if it's not perfect, you still get the 20 points or whatever it is for doing the assignment. Now, what the teacher may do is attach a rubric to it that we do have that some teachers use that give you hints about certain things. For example, I can't say to you, Lauren, I think you need to look at prompt number 6, question 3. Okay, I can't say that, but I can say, Lauren, make sure you fully answer all the questions. And so if you see me say something like that, that is instructor code for Lauren not answering the questions fully.
Okay.
Look at this again. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Okay. And that goes for everybody else too. So we'll be using that same system.
This offer is still lower than I'd suggest, but it does.
Okay. Once you get past week 11, you'll see that the modified step assignments kind of stop. Week 11 through 15 is all about your portfolio. And so you're going to use that time to put together your student teaching portfolio. It will also be the time when you can start editing and working on your EdTPA and deciding, does it look like you want it to look as you prepare to turn it in. So you can see we have week 13, week 14, week 15. Now, in order to finish your student teaching course, you will need to have all 4 of your evaluations in. So some of you will probably, and this is no reflection on you, some of you will probably get an incomplete to begin with in your student teaching course. It will not affect your graduation. You'll still be able to walk or whatever. But you may get an incomplete in your student teaching course until your days are finished and that evaluation is done. So for example, Lauren just mentioned you're in the 2 8-week courses, correct?
No, I think that was owner.
Oh, okay. Owner.
I'm in the 15-week course.
Okay. Owner mentioned that you're in the 2 8-week classes?
Yes.
Okay. So you are required to do 75 days rather than just 70, which is what the 15-week classes are required to do.
Okay.
So if those 75 days are not done, by the time your online course is done, you would get an incomplete until all of that was finished.
Okay.
Okay? But don't freak out if they say, oh, you're going to get an incomplete. It doesn't, it's just a way to hold the grade open until you finish all the requirements.
Okay.
And once again, it would not stop you from walking or from, going to graduation if you're in a position to want to do that.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, my ELM 590 starts on February 7th, but I'm going in a few weeks earlier because, like I said, it has a 70-day requirement, and I have a spring break, which is 5 days. My school will be out, and then I think it's President's Day in February. So should I wait till that February 7th to start EdTPA, or can I start it a week or two prior to the actual start of the teaching requirement class?
You know what? You're not going to be able to do very much with EdTPA in the time that you have before you start your online class.
Got it.
You can certainly begin thinking about and discussing with your mentor teacher when you want to do EdTPA, because you cannot do it at the beginning.
Okay.
Your whole planning task needs to be completed. And unless you're teaching in your own classroom, you're probably not even going to get up in front of the class until week 4 or so, week 3, week 4. Those first couple of weeks are going to be for getting acclimated, getting to know the students, some working one-on-one, observing your mentor teacher, observing in other classrooms. So there's a whole list of things that are going to happen before you're actually ready to do your EdTPA.
Gotcha.
But it is a good time to sit down with your mentor teacher and say, look, let's look at the curriculum, 5 weeks out or 6 weeks out or whatever. And that way you can start working on lesson plans and things like that.
Okay.
And know what it is that you're going to teach, what your unit's going to be.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
What if I just stuck a couple of colonial columns?
The assessments,
You're the one's not being realistic. See the seller coming down much more. So I think we weren't quite sold yet, but I think we're there now.
okay.
Serious. Look at the face. That is serious.
I'm not sure who I can hear, but I'm gonna, okay, very good. I've muted as many people as I can because I was hearing some conversations. Okay, so onward and upward. Remember that we're shifting the definition of effective teaching. It is not successfully delivering the curriculum. And the way to show success is not, we got through the material. Now you're going to have administrators who tell you that that is the measure of success. Resist. The measure of success really should be, how have I affected student learning? Not, did I get through the material? My father used to say, he was a principal for 38 years, and he used to say, we either teach curriculum or we teach students. One or the other. And so curriculum is important, but not as important as having a positive impact on student learning. Okay, so the EdTPA portfolio, here's just a quick reminder of what's in it. There will be a learning segment, 3 to 5 lesson unit. Will be broken down into 3 tasks: planning, instructing, and assessing. And you will need to document this with evidence. So you'll have your commentaries, which are written on the templates. You will have instructional artifacts, including student work, and 1 to 2 unedited video clips of teacher-student interaction. That should, by the way, be aligned with whatever you're writing in your commentaries. So make sure in your commentary you write about what you are going to show in your videotapes in task number 2. The artifacts you submit will be judged on 5 components of teaching practice: planning, instruction, assessment, analyzing teaching, and academic language. You will provide evidence for the analyzing teaching component across all the tasks. The specific handbooks we've already dealt with. Most of you are here for special education with a sprinkling of elementary education. And so I think we've dealt with the handbooks. So here is a guide to the written components, to what you would need to turn in for planning class number, for task 1, okay? So first, you would select a class and complete the template Context for Learning information. Template to complete documenting essential information about your students and school or classroom, no more than 3 pages. Now, it's important to understand that in special education, we can use any of the academic content areas. So you can use math, you can use literacy, you can use science, and you can use social studies. But you only use one, and you only use one class. So when you are documenting your context for learning, no, that's a little scary.
Sorry, that's me or my dog.
When you are documenting your context for learning, you should not document every class that you're teaching. My assumption is that you're probably going to be teaching several classes in a day, right? Eventually, you're going to take on the whole load. But you're only dealing with one class for EdTPA, not 6 or 7 periods. Okay? And so that's important. You only do EdTPA for one of those classes, and in special ed, you only need to have one focused student. Okay. Prepare prior to teaching your lessons. Identify a learning segment, identify a central focus, analyze language demands, write lesson plans, respond to the commentary prompts. So you're going to do 3 to 5 consecutive lessons using a template of your choice. Remember, we've said that the best template for you to use is probably the old GCU template. The new one has all the required elements, but it is a little bit too long for EdTPA. You need to include copies, blank copies, of all written assessments and any strategies that you're going to use. So if you are using worksheets or rubrics or whatever, you need to send blank copies of those with your planning commentary. Okay? And that's because they want to make sure that you have planned fully the entire unit and are not just going to throw things in at the last minute.
So would the assignments be included in the 5 pages?
Yes. The assignments would be included on the lesson plans.
Okay.
Now, if you're doing an assignment that's like a worksheet or something, or a page from a book, yeah, you're probably going to want to scan it in and send it.
Okay.
Excuse me. Shoo.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. Now, remember, if you are using materials that you did not write, you must source them. You must cite them at the end of the commentary. So make sure that you, worksheet and then have at the end of the commentary a resource page. You don't have to cite every theory that you use. Okay? So if you mention differentiation, you don't have to go to the back and cite differentiation. Wikipedia says differentiation. You don't need to do that. Don't use Wikipedia. But you do need to give the resource for any of the materials that you use that you yourself did not create. So you would send in the instructional materials, no more than 5 pages per lesson plan, blank copies of all assessments, and planning commentary, no more than 9 single-space pages. Be careful here. Check your handbook. Sometimes these page limits are different depending on the handbook. Okay. Task 2. You will need to obtain video permission, obtain permission for video recording. Examine your plans for the learning segment. Identify lessons to video record. That's easy. Video record everything. Then at the end, you review and select your clips carefully because you are permitted 1 to 2 clips. You may either have 1 20-minute clip, or what most people do is 2 clips of no more than 10 minutes each. Specific video footage teaching and implementing your planned lessons. Pay close attention to the rubric for specific instructions. You should not write any of the commentaries without the rubric in front of you. They are right in the back of the handbook, and they tell you exactly what kind of information the scorer is going to be seeking. Finally, you would add your instruction commentary and additional information. Again, the instruction commentary is a template, and it will also have prompts, and that should be no more than 6 single-spaced pages responding to those prompts. Again, check your handbook to be sure. Task 3, assessing students' learning. First, you're going to determine which assessment from your learning segment you will use. And I sent you a video. We did quite a bit on this last time. So remember, you need to be careful about the assessment that you send in as student work. You have to define the evaluation criteria. How did you evaluate the student? And analyze the student work. Is there a pattern to what the student is doing? You are to send student work samples. You will select 1 focus student. You will collect 1 work sample and submit feedback on the assessment for 1 focus student in written, audio, or video format. So you will be allowed to add a very limited amount of video to your assessment commentary. I believe it's 5 minutes. Finally, you have the assessment commentary, where you will respond to the prompts, include and submit the assessment, and make sure you provide evidence of academic language. The assessment commentary should be no more than 10 single-spaced pages.
The evidence of the assessment, that's supposed to be students' work?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, task 4, I'm not really going to get into. Do we have any elementary ed people here tonight?
That would be me.
Oh, okay. Then I will get into.
Elementary ed?
Yes.
Yes, I am, because I was switched.
Okay. Very
I am as
good.
well.
Wow. Okay. Task 4 is math, and only elementary ed student teachers need to do this. If you are a special ed teacher, you do not need to do task 4. So here are the component sections of task 4. You will do the math context for learning information. It's a specific form. You will find it in the PLN. No more than 3 pages responding to the prompts. You will do a learning segment overview, 3 to 5 consecutive lessons that will include the student formative assessment. So in this mini lesson, this mini EdTPA math lesson, you're going to be looking not necessarily for a summative assessment, you're going to be looking at formative assessment. Re-engagement lesson plan, a plan to address learning to the objective and goal. Focus students' work samples. Collect and submit 3 focus students' work samples from the re-engagement lesson. Yes, it can be the same 3 focus students that you used for literacy if that makes your life easier. Finally, evaluate the effectiveness of the re-engagement lesson. That is, consider its impact on student learning. So really, task 4, for those of you in elementary, is not about doing a new math lesson. It is about re-teaching, re-engaging the students in a previously taught math lesson. It is a mini task, so to speak, a mini EdTPA, but you are not required to do everything that you would do over the other 3 tasks for just this one task.
Do we submit our lesson plans? I was looking through the paperwork for the math section.
Yes. You submit your lesson plans where?
For the math section for the elementary ed, do we submit the lesson plans too for EdTPA?
Oh, yes.
All right, I'll have to go back to my paperwork. I'm not seeing it, but all right, thank you.
You would do it for task 4, though. You wouldn't do it in planning.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, because I don't see what section and like. Okay, I'll figure it out. Thank you.
You would put that together with your task 4 stuff.
Okay.
You would not put it with your general planning commentary. That has to be all about literacy.
Okay.
Okay. Who is available for help? When a student teacher is struggling, there are lots of us to help. Student teachers can turn to their FEC. Cooperating teachers can turn to faculty supervisors or the FES. And then it talks about the rest of us. Understand that if you are having a problem in your placement, and sometimes this happens, the first person you really ought to talk to is your faculty supervisor. Your faculty supervisor can help you by helping to mitigate communication issues between you and your mentor teacher or something like that if those issues begin to arise. So turn to your faculty supervisor for that. Your instructor is the person who's going to help you with EdTPA. And so that's really the instructor's role, along with helping you put together your portfolio and making sure that all of your requirements are met before you graduate from the program. The best resource site, you have a lot of stuff here, but the best resource site is still the PLN. It is growing all the time, and you should be able to find anything that you need there.
Cool.
The PLN you're all very familiar with. Please note that we do have ongoing webinars. Tomorrow night is our last PAST live discussion, but we also just started a group of study groups, and I know that some of you were on with me last night. This is it's a big week for me. I'm on every night this week. So I'm now calling myself the voice of GCU. Anyway, some of you were on last night. We had 74 people. That's the largest webinar I've ever done for EdTPA. And we'll be doing 3 more of those throughout the semester. If you missed it and you would like to see it, it is on the PLN in the EdTPA group space. All right, who did that?
Not I.
Not I. Not I.
You know, I worry. I think we're now broadcasting to Mars or something. Okay. So in any case, there are a good number of us that are here to help you. Steps for teacher candidates: review the PLN, make sure you have your handbook, familiarize yourself with the assessment rubrics, prepare to register on Pearson. So you want to register on the Pearson EdTPA website. Begin planning how and when you're going to start your EdTPA. And also, you know, start filming and reflecting. It's never too early to start filming and to become comfortable with that. Also, becoming comfortable with being on film for both you and for the students. So even if you're not doing EdTPA yet, practice filming. And as I've said before, get friendly with your local techie. There are 2 of us that are clinical practice mentors, myself and Dr. Lizette Pickens. We are both primarily instructors in the College of Education, and we can be reached either through an EdTPA inquiry request ticket from the PLN, or by email, or by the PLN itself. Okay. So, before we are once again thrown out into space, Are there any questions?
I got a quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned something about the Pearson website for EdTPA. Is that
Yes.
something totally different that we can use throughout our student teaching?
No. I mean, you can. We have all the same stuff on the PLN that they have.
Okay, gotcha.
That's just where you're going to register for the EdTPA, and that's where you're going to turn it in after student teaching.
Gotcha.
I have a question. When, if God forbid, your TPA gets kicked back, do you have to pay again $300?
It depends. If you did very well on 2 of the sections, but really not well enough to pass on 1 section, then you would only pay to retake 1 session. So that would be $100. But if it does get kicked back, usually people retake the whole thing, and it is $300 again. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, the question is, when we get ready to videotape, like do a videotape with our students, do we need to get a permission form from GCU or from the school that we are attending, or the school that we're at for our
You don't need a permission slip from GCU. You need permission slips from the parents of the students.
Okay, well, I was asked that question because my cooperating teacher asked me that question, and I told her I wasn't for sure if I was supposed to get one from GCU or from the school itself.
You know what? It can be either one. If you mean the form itself, it can be either one. We do have them on the PLN that you can use and hand out to your students. Also, you may want to find out if your school already has students sign permission slips to be videoed or filmed at the beginning of the year. Because if they have already signed something, that might be good enough.
Okay.
Okay, so check with the secretaries. This is important to remember. And remember, you heard it from me first.
Yes,
Secretaries run the world. If you want to know what's going on in a school, if you need help with something in a school or you have a question, ask the secretaries. They know everything.
Thank you.
I made a packet when I put together, I put together the welcome letter and then all the documents that they needed to be signed.
That's fine. That's a good way to do it too. So you can do it either way.
Okay.
Don't try to make one up on your own though. Do see if you can find one either from the PLN or from the school, because these are quasi-legal documents. And you want to make sure that you got it right, that you've written it the way it needs to be done.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's about logging in our hours. Now, I teach throughout the whole day. And do I log in those hours, or you know what I'm saying? Or I noticed you said you had something from 3 to 5. I'm there from 7:30 to 4, you know?
Or in your student teaching handbook, not your EdTPA handbook, but your regular student teaching handbook, you will see that you basically don't log in by the hour, not like you did for field experience. You're gonna just get the day initialed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's a different form. You just do it by the day. You don't do it by the hour.
Okay.
Dr. Sid, is there any requirement per how many hours we have to do per day?
No. You have to do, the only requirement is that you have to do what a full-time contracted teacher would have to do.
I see.
So it could be 5.5, it could be 6 hours, it could be 7 hours. So whatever a full contracted teacher has to do, you have to do as well.
Okay.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yes.
Okay, so when you were talking about 75 hours earlier,
No, 75 days.
75 days. Okay, 75 days earlier. So I didn't get the understanding of that part of the 75 days. And you said something about something would be incomplete if you didn't get those days.
You would get an incomplete in your student teaching course until your days are completed. So if you're in the 15-week course, it's 70 days. If you are in the 2 8-week session, it's 75 days. That's
okay,
all.
so how are we gonna make that up? Because like
You would just keep going, even if your class was finished, your online class, you would just keep going to work. You would just keep going to school until your days were done. And then the faculty supervisor is the one that will deal with those extra days. And faculty supervisor deals with the days.
okay.
That's the person who's going to certify your days, not your instructor.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
But you're not going to get a grade for your online course until the faculty supervisor sends in the right form to the instructor.
Okay.
Okay? Don't worry about it. It's, you know what, it's just an administrative thing. You don't have to, it's not something you need to worry about at this point.
Okay.
But who signs off the days first? I think the mentor teacher, right? Is the first person who signed the
Yeah, your mentor teacher, your cooperating teacher is going to sign. You're going to sign, and your faculty supervisor is also going to sign.
So I have to give it to my supervisor, the signed form already by me and by my mentor teacher, or my mentor teacher gives that.
You'll get instructions on how to do that. It's through the document system, and so you'll get instructions about how that all works.
Okay.
So again, Monica, not something you need to worry about now.
All right.
You'll be fine, I promise. We haven't lost anybody through the documentation system yet.
Okay.
Okay, and on that unsure note from Monica, any other questions that you might have?
No.
All righty. Well, we will be here tomorrow night for our last session together. As usual, I will send this out tomorrow morning once I get it on YouTube. And I also sent you out those other 3 videos for you to take a look at. Those are particularly for special education. If you're doing elementary education, I do have something similar. Just shoot me an email and let me know that you want it, and I will get it to you. Dividing elementary ed into 3 specific, the 3 tasks and what you need to do for each task. So I hope to see you tomorrow night, and then after that, if you need me, I'm not going anywhere, and I will be available. I'll also be doing the study groups this semester, so I'll be available to you again through the webinars. Okay, thank you once again for being here. I really appreciate it, and I will send this out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.
As well.